Welcome to Podcast for Fun. This is a show where we dive into the passion, the process, and the journeys of creative storytellers as they bring their stories to life. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we are joined by a talented author, Mary Zimny. Thank you so much for being here, Mary.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be on.
So, let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your work.
Absolutely. So, I'm an author located in the Pacific Northwest. I live in the greater Seattle area and I write YA books. So, I have one trilogy that is already out. It's called The Apex Cycle. It's a YA superhero story with sci fi and fantasy vibes. It follows a girl without superpowers doing her best and just getting absolutely clobbered. And then I actually have a new book coming out in May called Skalterra by Nightmare. It's the first book in a duology. It is also YA, but slightly older YA. And it follows a girl named Ren who's been waitlisted at her dream college. She's just graduated high school and she would love to be focused on getting into her dream college, but every single night when she falls asleep, a group of magicians takes her sleeping consciousness, drags it into a magical reality where she is in charge of keeping a 10-year-old girl alive because if that girl dies, an evil magician is released from a glacier.
That actually sounds so cool. It's kind of like, okay, I know it's nothing like the Matrix, but it's like when you sleep, you're in a different world. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play with. And then, so the story kind of goes back and forth between a world that's like ours, or a world
Mhm.
that is ours essentially, and then a magical world. So it's very steampunk gas lamp vibes with a very
Mm.
fun magic system. So,
Have you always been like drawn to the fantasy genre?
yeah, I love fantasy. I like how it opens up just all the possibilities. And I think as a reader, it's a lot of fun to read fantasy because that's the only way that we get to pretend that we can have superpowers or magic abilities and visit
Yeah.
other worlds. And I think it ties into the hobby of reading very well.
When did you start writing?
So professionally, after I graduated college in 2016, but I think a lot of authors will tell you that they've been writing their whole life. It's so cliche. Um, I've always enjoyed storytelling. I've always enjoyed books. My my mom likes to tell a story of when she was volunteering in my kindergarten classroom and we had sidewalk chalk and all the kids are drawing pictures. And then I had my sidewalk chalk and I was writing out sentences and telling a story on the sidewalk. And she said that the kindergarten teacher looked at me and went, well, that's kind of weird. But here I am today. I wrote for fun growing up and now I get to write professionally.
Do you remember any of like the stories you wrote when you were a child?
Yeah. Oh gosh, when I was in like middle school, I had this lap desk and I would
Um,
sit on my bed all summer long. I was such a shut-in. It was beautiful out and I would just be on my bed
mm,
playing. I had my iPod because those were like really in back then. And I had one album on it and it was the third Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. And I would just play it on loop
uh-huh.
while I hand wrote a story that was like, oh gosh, it was so convoluted. Like every story a middle schooler is going to come up with is going to be. But it was like based off the game Solitaire, but each card in the deck was like a different member of royalty. It was like the main character was like the Eight of Hearts,
Mhm.
but the the Jack of Spades was trying to kill her. It was a whole thing. I think I was like 13. I have no idea where it ended up.
What was the story? Like, what's Solitaire? What's the game about?
Oh, so the game of solitaire is just a card game that you play on your own. You have a deck of cards, and you're trying to stack them black, red, black, red, black, red.
Mm.
Um, and then you can put all of them like in their own suit up above. It's like you could probably get it for free on your computer or your phone. I
So
played
you
it a
saw
lot
that?
as a kid.
So you saw that, and you're like, oh my God, I need to write a story about this right now, listening to the Pirates of the
Yes,
Caribbean.
inspiration comes from weird places.
Where do you
So
think, where do you think you get the most like inspirations from?
that's a really good question. I think I get a lot of inspiration from just enjoying the media that I like. Um, I love TV. I love movies. I love reading. And I think it's conceited to think we could ever create anything that is a completely original. Um, and so when people are like, "Oh, well, have writer's block or I have no inspiration," I have two pieces of advice. Go enjoy the media that you love and really focus on why do you like that media? Why do you love that
Mm.
movie so much? And then also go outside. I I hate that the advice to go outside and to exercise, even if it's like light exercise, I hate that that advice works. Like if you are stuck on a scene, just go on a walk, on a run, go look at a river, go in the woods, and just be alone with like your thoughts and nature. And it's amazing like how that can just like unlock our brain.
Hello? So you stopped at it unlocks our brain when you exercise and go outside.
I think that was about where that was where that ended.
Yes, yes. No worries, this happens sometimes. It's completely normal. And if you
Okay.
want to like cut it out later, I can totally do that in post-production. So,
Okay, up to you.
yeah. I think it's
Think
fine.
it
I kind of like adding it in because when I listen to it, it feels like organic. Like it's kind of funny listening to that.
Yeah.
And I get
Do you
like
know it's
comments
the
sometimes like, this is funny, like, oh, I noticed that, so I like.
right. Nice. Yeah. I it's just real.
Exactly. So you said that, you get your inspirations when you watch movies and TV shows. I feel the exact same way. I feel like when I watch a movie and I really enjoy the vibe of it, I think to myself, oh my God, I want to write a story with like the similar aesthetics. I want to write
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Exactly. And like I mean we should be writing stories and creating stories that have the elements that we like in them, right? Like it's silly to think that we would force ourselves to write something that doesn't have like the things that we enjoy in the media that we love in it, right? Like we
Mhm.
should be our first biggest fan.
Yes. Like, I think it's hard to have a story and put it out there if you don't enjoy it. So.
Exactly. Exactly. If I don't love it, then I don't know how I'm supposed to convince other people to love it.
Mhm. So I'm curious. You said you get inspirations from your TVs and movies. What's one of your favorite, I'd say, TV show or film?
Mm. Okay, so for TV, it's pretty tough. I really like animated stuff, first of all. So I really love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think any storyteller should study Avatar: The Last Airbender because they do so many things so well. And I really enjoy Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Which I think Star Wars: The Clone Wars does a fantastic job of taking these characters who've existed for decades
Mhm.
and just expanding on them in a way that felt so true to the character, but also like we got to see them in ways that we never got to see them before. And I thought that was very impressive.
So what's an example of something that Avatar did so well?
Oh, redemption arcs. 100%. So, of course, if you've watched Avatar, you know who Zuko is. He is the Fire Nation prince. He's been banished. He needs to regain his honor by capturing the Avatar, and he is the villain in season one. And by season three, he joins the gang to help take down his dad, and they don't make it easy for him. And I think we see a lot of people try to do redemption arcs where they say, "Look, here's our bad person,"
Hmm.
um, but actually, he's like he's traumatized, so we should like him. But they don't do that with Zuko. They make him face the atrocities he has done. And we see him like physically and emotionally deal with coming to terms with like, oh yeah, he did some really bad stuff. And now he has to make up for it. And I think that is something that we don't always see in redemption arcs. And that's why Zuko's redemption arc hits so well.
What's an example of like a scene or a moment where Zuko experiences like hardship?
Oh my gosh. I mean, like in the second season, when he helps save Avatar Aang's air bison, Appa,
Mhm.
because he's been locked up. And, this is the first time, or one of the first times, that Zuko has done something to help the Avatar. And he gets sick. like, he, his whole physical being, goes out of line because he did something nice. And he spends an entire episode, sick on the floor, trying to get over, flu-like symptoms. And I thought that was really interesting. And then I think also the really big one is he betrays his uncle at the
Mhm.
end of season 2. And then through season 3, we see him visit his uncle in jail several times, and his uncle just doesn't say anything to him. And when his uncle is breaks out of prison, and when they're finally reunited, it's such a beautiful scene because Zuko goes, and before his uncle can say anything, and he hasn't said anything to him all season, um, Zuko just apologizes for everything and cries, and that was just such a big moment for him. And then his uncle immediately accepts him, and it's so good. It's so good because you can see the work that Zuko has to put in that moment, and that is what makes a good redemption arc. That is what makes us want to cheer for these characters.
Yes. I've always kind of had an iffy um not relationship because these are fictional characters, but
Right.
I mean those anti-heroes, like
Mm-hmm.
characters who did bad things in the past and now they're good.
Yeah.
I always have a hard time fully liking them because I'm like, okay, they should be in jail right now. Like,
They
why
should
are
be
they?
in jail. Yeah. No, I have a character very much like that. He does some bad things in book 1. And by the end of book 1, most of my readers are like, I hate him. I want him dead. I think my favorite thing I've ever had a reader say about him at the end of book 1 was, yeah, I ship him. I ship him with a shallow grave. Um, but then by the end of book 3, all of those readers are like, how dare you make me like him? Like, it's, and again, that's I study things like Avatar, and it feels silly to say, oh yeah, I study this children's animated show. But
Yeah.
again, those are the professional storytellers. Those are the great storytellers. There's a reason why it's so loved. So you study that, apply it to your own work, and then, no one's going to read my book and think that that character is Zuko because he's very different from Zuko in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. It's just what makes a good redemption arc? What makes Zuko's work so well? And how can I apply that to mine?
hmm And people see it as like a kids show, but honestly, it's written by adults
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
clearly captured like millions of people's hearts. How else is it a popular show, right?
Right, right. And I think as a society we're too quick to dismiss stuff that's designed for children. And I say this as a YA author, my books are designed for teenagers, but so
Mm.
many of my readers are adults. And I think if we create meaningful content for children, it's going to resonate with adults because we were all children once.
Yes.
And it's silly to think that I mean, look at Bluey. Do you know what Bluey is?
Yes.
Because I have a 2-year-old, so we have a lot of Bluey happening in my home. And Bluey is so popular with both toddlers and adults. And it's because it's good media, it's good storytelling, and it
Yes.
knows how to speak to children, but in a way that's going to make the adults also feel seen. And I think that's again, we discount children's media way too fast. There's really good stuff there.
Like animated movies, Pixar movies, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
Up is technically for kids, but that
Hmm.
whole, have you ever watched Up before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just making sure, just making
Yes. Oh yeah.
sure. Like the first minute montage they have of like the couple
Mm.
growing old together. Like a
Mhm.
kid is not gonna watch that and probably understand it. But
Mhm.
it even though the movie's targeted towards children, it's more like
Yeah.
it's targeted towards the family, so everybody can.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot there for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pixar is another great place to study if you want to be a storyteller because the stuff they do, I think the biggest nugget of advice I can take from Pixar and
Yeah.
what I use in my work is, and I think almost every Pixar movie, think about what that main character wants. I don't think they ever get it. Ever. But they always end up getting what they need, and they end up satisfied at the end and having grown, but they never, ever, ever get what they want. And the most brutal one is Onward. I don't know. Have you watched Onward? It's a newer
Yeah.
one.
Uh-huh.
Oh, because, he wants to meet his dad, who's dead.
Mhm.
And that ending was just, oh. But it was satisfying and cathartic. So, and that's another, yeah, Pixar's a good one.
Wait, how's the ending cathartic?
Um, So like catharsis is going to be a strong emotion that's not necessarily a positive one, but it feels positive.
Mhm.
Um, and the word goes getting real technical. It goes all the way back to like ancient Greek theater and ancient Greek storytelling. It's why we have like tragedies. What's the appeal of a tragedy? You're sad at the end, everyone's dead, but like you have this feeling of like you've come to like a new understanding, and like that release of emotion makes you feel good, in like a roundabout way.
Mhm.
Um, and Pixar is so good at it because every Pixar is going to have like some bittersweet ending where you're like, wow, I'm kind of sad, but also I feel like I've grown with the character almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give your characters necessarily what they want is what I'm saying. And that can be more satisfying than giving them what they want.
You know what's a good movie that I feel like did that in Pixar? Have you ever watched Monsters University?
Yes, that is a good one. That's a really good example. Yes, because they don't get what they want
Mm-mm. Spoiler
at
warning,
all.
but yeah. Like, Mike Wazowski, he like
Hmm.
tries everything to be
Hmm.
a scared. And he's like so inspired by them. And he like studies all his life. He gets in a good university. But at the end, he just can't be scary.
Right,
And
he's a tennis ball.
and I felt
Yeah,
like that was so sad when I saw it. It kind of reminds me, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that in real life, right? They try
yeah,
really
yeah.
hard, and they just can't get it.
Right. Oh, it's, we're not cut out for everything. That can be hard to come to grips with sometimes, but it's about finding where we belong and where we are
Hmm.
happy. And sometimes we don't know we're happy there until we land there on accident because we
Yeah.
couldn't achieve our dreams.
Have you ever had anything like that in your life?
Huh. I did theater through college, and I never got the roles I wanted ever. Um, so there's that. I wasn't very good at acting, but I was able to do improv comedy at
Mm.
our theater. In the theater program, and I really, really enjoyed the improv comedy because you can just be goofy, and I'm a pretty goofy person. Um, so even though I wasn't getting the roles I wanted in like the big shows or roles at all in the big shows, yeah, I found myself really enjoying improv, and I met my husband there.
Oh, really?
I did, yeah. I joined our freshman year, he joined our sophomore year, and then by our senior year we were dating, and now we have a 2-year-old. I also actually met the artist who does the cover art for my books in that club. So
Really?
yeah,
Wait, can we show an example of the book if you can?
yeah, I've got one right here. She's done all 4 of my book covers. Um,
Cool.
Her name is Maria Monlock. She is incredible. She actually is not a book cover artist by trade. She's a theme park designer.
Is that why the
Yeah.
buildings are so good?
Maybe. She actually told me she hated doing the buildings. Um, but it might be why the buildings are so good. She actually does so she does like some set design stuff for Warner Brother Warner Brothers? Yeah, Warner Brothers.
Hmm.
Because they are contracted with like Six Flags and I think some other theme parks, and they've got like a theme park overseas. But she does like set design stuff, and then also, so when you go to Disneyland and you meet like Ariel,
Yeah.
so you can go to Six Flags and meet Batman. Because they're contracted with Warner Brothers, so they have like the Justice League there, and they have DC comic characters there, and she has done the costume design for a ton of the Justice League.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and she does my book covers.
Nice. Oh my God. I do my own covers because I draw. Like,
No, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, drawing is, I've been trying to get better, but it's a hard skill to perfect.
yeah. So what were you studying in college?
It's a really good question. I studied human physiology. I know.
How did you get into writing from that?
So I love science,
Mm,
but I also love the arts. So I studied human physiology, and I the body is fascinating. And honestly, that degree helped a ton with my writing because I write about superheroes, and
mm,
I try to inject as much like science into that as I can. Obviously, it's all like fake science,
yeah.
but it's rooted in some sort of scientific fact. So I
Mhm.
go over like how the genes work between the different superhumans, and my books is like you have to have the two genes. One has to be the activator gene, right? And it's like it's all stuff you learn in like Bio 101. And then, I talk about like neurotransmitters, like that sort of thing. So it definitely informed my writing. And I'm very happy to have studied it. Until I had my daughter, I worked at a cancer research center. I was doing cancer registry work, so I was like going over, I do like 100 cancer cases a day in some capacity. um, So, that was cheerful. But then I also, on the side, I did study as a minor, I did uh, theater arts. So I had
Mm.
theater classes along with my human physiology classes.
Do you feel
And
the? Oh, sorry. Keep
oh
going.
no,
Keep going.
I was gonna say a lot of the stuff, a lot of the storytelling elements that you learn in theater, you I can hear my kid crying. It's fine. My husband's out there. A lot of the
Mm,
storytelling elements that you learn doing theater, you apply, to all storytelling.
mm.
So a lot of it did roll over. I took a playwriting class that I use what I learned in that class all the time especially when I'm writing dialogue.
Like, for example, what kind of things do you use?
So I think the best advice I ever got in playwriting class was that every character should have an objective. If that character does not have an objective, get them out because they're crowding the page and they're crowding the stage. Um, if they don't have something that they actively want in that scene, you don't need them. And then you're going to take each character's objective and you're going to quote unquote drive it underground, which means if your character comes in and they want a sandwich, they're not necessarily going to say, I want a sandwich. They're going to
Mm.
start rooting around and looking for bread and butter. And maybe they're hangry. So they're snapping at everyone. And no one comes in and says explicitly, this is what I want, this is what I feel. You
Yeah.
take those and you work them into the dialogue, you work them into the body language to convey those things. And it makes for a much richer scene.
So, do you have an example of a scene you used that in?
Oh, man. I mean, I try to use it in every scene. um, a lot of times, let's see, let me think about in my newest book. Um, I have my main character Ren, and Ren
Mm,
is grumpy. She is grumpy, grumpy. She hates her new coworker. She's working at her grandma's shop, right?
yeah.
And this kid comes in and he looks perfect, right? He's handsome, he sucks, and he's so nice. And Ren hates him, and it doesn't make like a lot of sense. Like, why would Ren just like be so rude to this kid when he's just being nice and polite and friendly? But then as we learn more about Ren, we find, oh, her friends were horrible to her. And so now she has this very jaded view of the world. When she sees someone being friendly, she's like, they're not actually friendly. They're going to do something horrible to me. So I'm just going to be rude to them to just like beat them to the punch. Um, so that's sort of like her ob- objective isn't quite the right word, but like that's her reasoning.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily have her come right out and say it until he's like, why are you so rude? Um, And then she kind of avoids the question, and then he's like, "Well, this is what I think," and he calls her out on her crap.
Mm.
And that's a really fun scene because then Ren's like, "Okay, yeah, I guess he's kind of right." But up until then, it's just you get the grumpiest main character. Oh, she's so fun.
How did you come up with her?
Okay, that's a good question. I wanted her to be different from my previous main character. And my previous main character, Samantha, who's in the Apex cycle, she, like I said, she doesn't have superpowers, but she is determined to be helpful, even though
Mm.
she's not equipped. And so she very much is like in everyone's face and like, you're going to deal with me and you're going to like it. And I am going to help to the point of being maybe a little bit obnoxious about it.
Mm.
Ren, I wanted to be the opposite. So I was like, I'm going to create a character who's so like, don't bother me. Um, and I wanted a reluctant hero because Samantha was absolutely not a reluctant hero. Um, and that was kind of how I built Ren. Was what makes her so unwilling to be helpful? What makes her so reserved?
Mm.
Um, and I will say both her and Samantha are very sarcastic though. So they're both very sassy, which is fun though because then they're sassy in different ways.
Do you feel like parts of yourself are shown in through your characters?
I think so because I'm also very sassy. I think if you look at the parts of Sammy that are similar to Ren, I think that's going to be like the overlap of like where I am. I've had people who like there's one bookstagrammer in particular who when she first started reading my series, she didn't know me very well. Uh, she had moderated a panel I was on.
Mm.
And so she started reading, she read the first book and she's like, yeah, it was great. And then we became friends. And then she read the next two books and she's like, look, now that I know you, I'm like, I can hear you like on the page. Like this is just your voice. It's just how you talk. And I was like, yeah, I guess. And I've had like other people say like, oh yeah, when I read it, it's just that's just how Mary talks. But then there's other things. I think, notably with Ren,
Mm.
a thing about her that I definitely took for myself is she has trichotillomania, and I don't know if you're familiar with what trichotillomania is, but it is compulsive hair plucking. So it's usually linked to anxiety, ADHD, OCD, um, but it just means that like even without realizing it, you pull your hair out of your head. You know, a lot of people have it, but they don't talk about it. And so, and I've like struggled with it since like fourth grade. So I wanted a character who also struggled with it because you never see it represented. But then like you'll say, oh yeah, I do this. And there's so many people who are like, oh my gosh, me too. Is that a thing? I didn't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing. And it's like, no, 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 no. It's a thing. Um, so the very first line of the new book with Ren, who pulls her eyelashes out, she says, these are not my eyelashes. And that's the first line. Because when she's in that magic reality, she's like a different version of herself. So
Mm.
she has eyelashes there.
Oh my God. I never guessed because your hair's pretty, so
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
thank you. I mostly do eyelashes and eyebrows, so I've got a lot of eyeliner on to hide it.
I see. You see, I don't even notice it at all.
Yay!
But
Well, that's great news.
can I ask like what do you know why it started? The new
I yeah, because I think in my case it's very much it's linked to like anxiety. So the first time I remember doing it was actually during a math test in fourth grade. Um, yeah, and it's just like it's sort of like a almost like a stim where it just sort of helps release like that nervous energy.
Mhm.
I it's hard to describe. um and then or like sometimes if I find myself like thinking really hard, I'll find myself doing it. Um yeah, it's weird. I don't but a lot of people do it. So I did have like one lady I went to get glasses and I
Mhm.
had my kid there and my kid was still just like a baby. And so she's chewing on paper because she's a
Yeah.
baby. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, my kid just chewed up like the paper. And she's like, oh, that's okay. I knew this weirdo in high school who used to eat paper. Even weirder, she would pull her eyelashes out. And I was sat there like, Oh, yeah, that's really weird. Like, I don't know. It's such a common thing, but people just don't talk about it. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I was like, maybe if I can draw attention to it just in any way, maybe people would not be like, oh, I knew this weirdo freak in high school who pulled her eyelashes out, not knowing they're saying it to someone who's also a weirdo freak who pulls their eyelashes out.
Yeah. I
So,
think a lot of people don't say it. My assumption is because, it's an insecurity, right? So
mhm, yeah,
they don't want people to bring attention to it. I guess.
right, right.
That's
I definitely. Because, like, I felt so, like, alone almost. Like, who else is doing this? Like, this is just me being, like, a weirdo. But as I've gotten older, I've met like a couple other people, and since I've announced that my main character has trichotillomania, I've had people reach out, and be like, "I have that too," and I've never seen it in a book.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited for Ren to be able to, um, I guess, be the representation that I've never seen.
You know what? I think everybody's weird in their
Oh,
own
sure,
little
yeah,
way. But it's not
definitely.
weird. Like, I bet the person who said that was like nibbling their nails off, and I know some people who do that. And
Oh
I don't
yeah.
think because I have my little weird quirks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, it's like people they don't talk about like their eating disorder all the time, right?
Right. Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like "You ate too much or whatever." And go on.
No, I was everyone's got something. I'm not here to judge. No, I just wanted to show some representation for someone who's never seen it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
And I think it's
I
great.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited. The big themes of like self love and internal validation in the book because YA.
Yes. Why do you think you lean towards the young adult when you're writing?
Yeah, this um. So when I was 15, almost 16, I lost someone in my family who was really really close to me, and it was very, very difficult. And what I did was I read. I just read and read and read and read. I read so many books and I just disappeared into all these YA books. And that was how I felt better. And now that I'm an adult, I think that is why I'm so drawn to YA books because they were so pivotal to me in that very hard time of my life. And they were there for me when I needed them. And so now it's like if I can have my books be that for like one other person, then like I will have made it. And I have had people reach out and be like, "Your books got me through chemo." And I'm like, "Oh wow, that's actually huge because that's the whole reason I do this." um, but I think that's why I love YA so much, because it was so, so important to me at that time when life was the hardest. Um, and like I was saying earlier, children for children, media for children, because, young adults are technically still children. We overlook it a lot, but there's such good stuff in there. And if you do it right, it should appeal to everyone. And I like to say at conventions when I'm talking about my books to people, there is an unhealed 16-year-old teenage version of ourself locked away in each of our hearts. um, and that's what makes, I think, YA so universal and why I love it so much.
Could not agree more. I watch so many kids shows, it's kind of embarrassing sometimes. But it's not.
No, it's not embarrassing.
My friend's like, "Oh, why did you watch them?" Like, I watched Bluey.
Bluey is great. Bluey is so good.
I think it's because I saw some like YouTuber talk about it or something, and I got
hmm
curious and I watched it, and I was like, "This is actually pretty addicting," you know?
Bluey is excellent. It's excellent storytelling. It's
Mhm.
funny. It's relatable, even if like you don't have kids. So
And the art style is like so distinct, you know?
yeah, and it's very cute and easy to digest.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I like. I have a
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So you took human physiology, you
Mhm.
studied cancer research, you were like a musical theater minor. What was the turning point that made you go, I should start writing books now?
Yeah, I always loved writing. My goal was to always write. I think I was able to focus on it in a more serious way after graduating because I wasn't involved in theater anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and theater provided a really good outlet for storytelling, especially with like the improv. If you want to get good at making a concise scene, just do improv. But I graduated. I was commuting to Seattle for work. Um, and so, I just started noodling with ideas in my head because I had that itch to tell stories and I didn't have that outlet of theater anymore. And then it took a couple years, I will admit,
Mhm.
but when I started working at the cancer registry, I had a coworker and her name is Melissa. And Melissa is very much the reason these books exist because she was such a cheerleader. And I said, Melissa, because I didn't want to work. I
Yeah.
was distracted. I was like, Melissa, I'd rather be talking to you. So I was like, Melissa, I have an idea for a book. And she's like, great, tell me all about it. Because she also didn't want to work. And I was like, okay. And I told her the entire plot. And she's like,
Mhm.
that's awesome. I love it. If you write it, I'll read it. And I was like, okay. Um, Months pass. Okay.
Mhm.
I have like a couple scenes written here and there. And then I go to Emerald City Comic Con, which is the where we met. But back then I didn't have a table, I didn't have books. I would go as an attendee, and David Tennant was there. And I don't know if you know who David Tennant is.
Could you
He's
explain
a
who
Yeah, he's a Scottish actor. He is best known for being the 10th Doctor in the Doctor Who series, but he's done a lot of other stuff. He's one of my favorite Shakespearean actors. He does an incredible Hamlet with the Royal Shakespeare Company. It was in 2009 with Patrick Stewart as Claudius. Fantastic.
is?
I have it on DVD. And I had a poster from
Mhm.
that show that I bought at the Royal Shakespeare Company. And I was like, I'm going to have David Tennant sign this.
Mhm.
I was so excited. I love David Tennant. So I go with my husband, who at the time is just my fiance. No, not
Yeah.
even. He was like 2 weeks from proposing. He was just my boyfriend. Um, so we go, and I just full anxiety. Trying to talk to David Tennant, and I'm
Yeah.
just tears. Just incomprehensible. My husband has to do all the talking for me. It was so embarrassing. So embarrassing. So I go to work and I'm like, Melissa, I met David Tennant. And she's like, how did it go? Because I had been telling her how nervous I was. And I was like, it was horrible. I cried. I was so embarrassing. He was so lovely and so nice, even as I sat there like hyperventilating at his table. And she's like, well, you know what you have to do now? And I was like, what do I have to do now, Melissa? And she goes, well, next time you meet David Tennant, you have to be a big enough deal that he cries. And I was like, okay, how am I going to do that? And she goes, you're going to write that book you told me about. And because I commit to the bit, I was like, okay, Melissa, fine, I'll write the book. And then shortly after that, Melissa ended up quitting.
Mhm.
And because I didn't have to look at her in the face every day, I was like, I can send her chapters to read. Because that's like the hardest thing to get over when you first start writing is like letting other people read your work. I was like, I don't have
Yeah.
to look at her. I'll just send her chapters to read. And so I would send her each chapter as I finished it. Um, and at the end, she's like, this is fantastic. What are you going to do with it? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, you have to put it out there so other people can also read it. It's so good. And I was like, okay. So I looked up self-publishing and I was like, sure, let's do it.
Wow. You make it sound so easy, but that's like a really hard thing that 90% of people who want to write don't actually do?
It's yeah, a lot of, I think everyone has a story in them.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of building the habit of sitting down and making the time to put that story to the page and giving yourself permission to write absolute crap for the first draft. Too many people try to make it perfect the first time through, and you'll never finish if you do that.
Mhm. So, how did you manage your time? Because you had like a full-time job and you
Hmm.
still wrote at home and you have a
Yeah,
child. Like how did you juggle all that?
yeah. So luckily the child came after the trilogy was done.
Okay, okay, okay. That's
Yeah.
good.
I mean, I was on a crunch time because I was pregnant with her while I was writing the third one. So I was like, I gotta get it out before this kid comes. Um, but for like the first two, I did have a full-time job. Um, but I had an hour lunch break every day. So I would go and I would write on my lunch break. And the campus of the place I worked was it was gorgeous. It was down in like South Lake Union, Seattle. Um, so just beautiful on the water and just it was so pretty. And I would just sit by the window and write like for my hour lunch break. And I got a lot done that way. And then I would come home and I would encourage my husband to buy video games because if he buys video games, then he is entertained and I can write. So it went like that for a while, and then I ended up with a lot of time because COVID shut everything down.
So say that because I had the exact same thing. I started writing my comics when COVID hit.
Yep. I mean, we all had time. Well, I wasn't commuting anymore. I was getting up, getting my work done, being like, okay, well, I guess I'll go write. Like I finished the book pretty quickly after COVID hit. And then, you know, all my friends were like at home also in the same situation. So like, sure, we'll read your book and give
Mm.
you like feedback. And it worked out great.
So how long did it take for you to write the book?
So the first book, like I said, like the ideas were sort of bouncing around in my head for a couple years before I like sat down and really went for it. And after I really, really decided, oh, I'm doing this, it took about a year from start to published. Um, and then the second book, even faster. Like I think I gave myself a couple months off, and then it was like 9 months.
Mm.
Um, and the second book is usually people's favorite, which is of my series.
Mm.
So the words were flowing. And then the third book was a little bit longer. It took more like a year and a half. And again, part of that's because I spent a lot of it pregnant.
Did okay, I'm just kind of curious because I know that when people get, I've never been pregnant, but so does it affect your writing when you're pregnant? Like, do you have more energy, less energy?
Less energy. I would get done with work and immediately fall asleep. And
And
it was just, and you would try so hard to stay awake, but as soon as I went and sat down on my couch to write, it was lights out. Like it's exhausting.
do you feel like it made your writing worse or better?
I don't think it affected the quality of the writing. I think it just made it take longer.
Mm.
And I was 3 books in at that point, and you would hope that the quality of your writing would improve
Yeah.
after writing 3 books. Um, and that's going to be true for you could pick up any author's like books. If you look at their first book, it could be a great book, but the writing quality is always going to be best in their most recent books. So it's hard to like say like
Yeah.
how much did like the pregnancy affect the quality of writing when it's like I was on a trajectory to get better because I was
Yeah.
doing it every day. um, so yeah, it just made it take a really long time.
So are you a full-time writer now?
Technically, I'm also a full-time mom though.
Sure.
So it's kind of a fun balance to strike. You wake up, you play with your kid. She's still napping, and as soon as she goes down for naps, it's make sure the house is clean, and then the rest of nap time is mine. Um, and as a self-published author, that I have a lot more responsibilities than just writing. I'm also in charge of my marketing. I have to do all my event planning. I have events that I'm planning right now for the release of the next book. I'm getting the next book ready for ARC readers. Um, I'm the one who's in contact with my narrator for my audiobooks, my cover artist, my character artists. Like it's a lot of that. And then if I'm lucky, I get to do some writing. And then again, the kid has to be either asleep or at grandma's house. Otherwise, she wants to be on my computer.
That's so impressive though, because that's literally to me it looks like two full-time jobs. You're a
It
mom,
feels like 2 full-time
and
jobs.
that's so crazy.
Yeah,
So
I
sorry, keep
stay
going.
up late. No, I stay up real late because after she goes to bed, I'm like, this is my time. But Yeah.
So can I hear like a rundown, like what's like an average day for you?
Yeah. So I wake up usually around like 7, get ready for the day. And then around 7:30 to 8, I get my kid up and we'll make breakfast. She's kind of in that weird spot where toddlers hit where they don't always eat. So I cross my fingers and hope she eats. We take care of our dogs. We play with the dogs. Sometimes we'll watch a little bit of TV, play toys, and then it's the weather's been getting nicer. So now we can work parks back into the schedule. So we'll go to the park. I think we're going to go to the park as soon as we're done chatting here, actually. We'll go to the park. We'll go get groceries. We'll come home. We'll eat lunch. She'll nap. I'll make sure everything is cleaned up. And then I'll write, send emails, do whatever I need to do for my work. And that'll be a couple hours. And then she gets up. We finish kind of cleaning up the house together, and then my husband will get home at 4. I start making dinner. We eat around 5. If it's a Tuesday or Thursday, I go to karate at 6:30, and then uh, she goes to bed at 7, and the rest of the evening is mine to write or do karate.
How did you get into karate?
It was it was last summer, um, and like my kid was about a year and a half old at that point, which meant I was 18 months out from having a baby. And when you have a baby and when you are in charge of that baby every day, you start to feel less like yourself. And so I was like, I need something that's like mine and like for me, because even though I love writing, I love art, like that's also stuff that's like, it's not just for me, it's a job also. I was like, I need something that's mine, that is for me to feel good, to feel better. And I was like, karate, why not? And then I joined and I love it. So I've stuck with it and we're having a good time.
That's awesome. Is it because of Avatar? It's not because of Avatar, is it?
I'm sure there's like influence there. I'm sure growing up with avatars it has somehow in my brain been like, hey, martial arts are really cool. um, but it was mostly just because like I live in an area with like a lot of like Asian communities, and so martial arts are very accessible here. Um, and I was like, why not? They have so many dojos in our area. So
Does your husband read your work?
yes, he does. And not every writer's husbands do that, but he reads all of them before they're published and he gives me feedback. Some of it I take, some of it I don't. And then he's actually a high school teacher, so he keeps my books in his classroom. And yeah, he I think likes them, or he's just saying that to make me feel good. I don't know.
I think he's your husband, so he has to be honest with you. He wants you to read
Yeah,
books.
he does. He definitely is honest. He will let me know what he doesn't like. So usually any scene with like big emotions, he's like, ugh, just make them punch each other. And I'm like, no, they have to cry a little bit.
It has to be emotional. It has to touch people's heart. What are
Yes,
you talking about?
exactly. And now we're back to catharsis.
Exactly. I like tragedies. I feel that whenever I write a story, the characters are never having a good time. In my,
No, I love a good tragic element to everything. I have had several readers say, why can't you write something happy? Which is funny because I'm like, I feel plenty happy when I read it. It's like, oh, well, I guess maybe it's just kind of like they're all sarcastic, but they are also all going through it. So,
well, I enjoy stories that like make me feel something. So when I'm reading a happy
yeah.
stuff, I'm like, I'm bored. I'm not sad
Yeah.
right
I'm
now.
not sad or angry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I should feel something when I'm reading
Yeah.
story.
You want something that's going to like rip your heart out.
Exactly. In a good
Yeah.
way. In a good way.
Yes. Yes. I like, I've had a weird number of people tag me in videos and pictures online of them crying, usually at the end of the second book. So,
Like, you're kind of like convincing me maybe I should.
Oh, there, if you like to hurt. The first one's like just like it's pretty fun. I mean, there's like some serious stuff in there, but it's mostly fun. And then like by the end of the second one, you're like, I feel a little bit beat up. And then by the third one, it's no one's having a good time. No
Mhm.
one. There's a scene in the third book when my audiobook narrator narrated it. I was like, wow, you did amazing. Like you dug so deep. Like it sounds like you're like actually crying. And she goes, thanks, I was. And she just like recorded herself like crying through the lines in her booth and then just kept them. I was like, well, it sounds really good. It's very convincing.
If your narrator's crying, you did a good job,
I've got
obviously.
I've made her cry several times.
What would
She'll
you
send me
say?
videos.
What would you say is like the most prevalent theme? Because okay, when people say fantasy and sci-fi to me, I'm like cool, cool, but that's kind of like the world. What about like,
Yeah.
is it like more romance, more drama, more
Mm.
action?
Um so it's funny because like in the Apex cycle, it is, you know, it is a superhero story.
Yeah.
But it's you know, it's not you're not getting anyone running around in capes. And so it really is like a fusion of sci-fi and fantasy with like historical fantasy elements. Um, there's Vikings in it, like um, so it is a real hodgepodge of elements that actually makes it really hard to market. Because it's like, yeah, there's Vikings in it, but I can't tell you how there's Vikings in it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm constantly telling people, oh, just trust me, there's Vikings. Like, um, I don't know, I would say that the Apex cycle is very like contemporary fantasy, urban fantasy. If you were kind of go with, it's almost like Percy Jackson, where you have like the fantasy elements, but they're all like in like a very normal world.
Yeah.
And then with the new one, you know, that one's also kind of weird because it's like a portal fantasy. So you have the two worlds, but like the fantasy world is very Gaslamp. So think like Arcane, League of
Hmm.
Legends, sort
Okay,
of.
okay.
Yeah. But
Yes.
then at the same time, they're also going through like wilderness. So yeah, it's a hodgepodge.
So how do you like get people? This is a part that I think everybody is curious about and everybody goes about the same way, but where do you find and how do you find your readers?
I use a lot of TikTok.
Yes.
um, yeah, I TikTok is kind of my go-to tool for finding new readers. You know, I've been slacking a little bit because one, I'm in America or the US, so it's like I don't know if TikTok's even going to be like an they keep playing with our hearts, right? So it's like, do I want to keep putting energy into this if it's going to be ripped away from me? But then also, yeah, I've been so focused on like getting the new book ready, so I haven't been like posting daily like I usually like to. But that is where I find most of my readers is just like shooting TikToks off into the ether. Um, I had a video go very viral um, earlier. It was like right at the beginning of the year, and it wasn't about my books at all. It was about a dog, and I got like 13.5 million views.
What? Oh,
Um,
insane.
it was insane. It was a really
That's
big.
like all my views combined. Sorry, keep
It was
going.
it was wild. It was um it popped off so fast, and I accidentally stole my mother-in-law's dog, and like it was a funny story.
Hmm.
And 13.5 million views later, and now I have like 17,000 followers, and I'm like, what do I do with you all? You're all here for a dog that isn't even mine. Like
Yeah.
I have books. Um but because of the dog, I was able to actually sell a ton of books in January. Um so I think with like finding an audience and using social media to do that as like as an author, you see a lot of authors get burnt out and frustrated because they're fighting the algorithm. They're like, hey, read my book, read my book, read my book, read my book, and they're getting nothing back. And I think the problem is our instinct is to yell at the internet, read my book, read my book, read my book. But the internet doesn't want to hear that. The internet wants to see your dog. The internet wants to know you. The internet wants you to tell a funny story. They don't care that you're selling a book. If you want them to care that you're selling a book, you have to make them care about you first. um, and you have to provide something other than, hey, give me your money.
So how do you do that?
I try to connect with readers. I do post about my dogs a lot. I have two golden retrievers. They're not the ones who necessarily went viral, but they do a good job. I try to give writing advice online. I talk about DC Comics online. I talk about the things that interest me. And if I can talk about the things that interest me and find people who are also interested in those things, then maybe they will care that I wrote a book. So every once in a while I'll be like, oh, by the way, here's my book. But more than anything, it's just like, hey, here's me. Here's what's going on with my life. And that tends to work better than constantly burning ourselves out by yelling at strangers to read our book.
You know what I learned the most from social media is that this is fine, it's normal, but people usually don't care if they don't know you,
Yep. There's
right?
we live in a world where we're constantly being advertised stuff. Um and so if we decide to be one of those voices that's just advertising more stuff, they're going to tune us out.
Yeah. So what would you say like an average video from you would look like?
Oh gosh, I usually go several different directions. Lately, it's been mostly like updates. Because again, I've been so busy lately with like the new book coming out. So it's been a lot of updates on the new book. You'll usually get like my face and then being like, "Oh my gosh, like I got this feedback back today, which is really exciting." Or I'll make a joke about my dogs. I have one that I need to post actually. Um, Sometimes it's just like goofy things that I did. So as I'm proofreading this book, I have a mug, and the
Hmm.
mug is full of numbers because I like to randomize what chapter I proofread next because it
Yeah.
keeps it like kind of fresh. Um, so I'll reach into the mug and grab a new number, and I reach into my mug and found my hands wet with coffee. Um, so I have a TikTok about that I need to just like edit and post. Um, that's that kind of stuff, just kind of
That is
silly,
so
goofy things.
that is so
I did it twice. Did it twice. So
nice.
yeah, whoops.
How do you like your coffee?
With a lot of cream.
Same.
Yeah, it's quite. I don't know if you can see it. It's very pale in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Actually, that looks kind of dark on camera. I promise it's pale.
It's
Um,
so funny. I chugged my coffee right before this. So I was like, I
nice.
really want coffee. I'm gonna fall asleep. Okay, now I'm ready. And
You
then
gotta do
you
what you gotta
immediately
do.
go as soon as I finished drinking my coffee, which is so funny. Shout out to the cup right here. But yeah.
Perfect. Well, now if you stick your hand in it, you won't get coffee all over
Yeah,
your
I'll get little
fingers.
droplets on the tip of my fingers. But I think I'm fine because my nail's super long right now. I need to cut it. So,
Yeah, they're very pretty.
oh, thank you. So I'm curious. Do you have any like pet peeves when you watch shows or something? You're like, oh, I hate when this happens.
Okay, yeah. So shows, any media, shows, TV, books. Biggest pet peeve. The wife, girlfriend, child has been killed off. And that is where the main character gets his entire plot.
Yeah.
I hate that so much because you see it all the time. Like, oh, he had a wife that he loved, but she was brutally murdered, and now he's gonna go on a rampage. Like, I get it. Like, it's just I don't mm, I I don't like seeing women reduced to like that type of like plot device. Like, they're good for murdering, so that the man can have his story.
I get that.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that
probably
like
my
literally every action movie ever?
yes, John Wick. Oh my god.
I was just gonna say, John.
Uh, I hate it. I hate it. I like I I'll fastest way to get me to stop reading a book is like, oh, my wife, she was killed. And I'm like, bye. I'm done. Like, no, I'm tired of seeing women reduced to that kind of plot device. So,
How do you feel about like the damsel in distress trope?
I think it can be done well, but I do think I have a pretty like modern take on it, where it's like, well, but like, what is she doing to help herself, kind of thing. Like, I do see the appeal in like, okay, sometimes we do just want a man to save us, and like, I get
Yeah.
that, but also it's been done over and over and over again for centuries. Um, I think I think the Disney Hercules movies says it best, when Hercules goes to save Meg when he first sees her, and she's like, "I'm a damsel. I'm in distress. I've got it." Like, she's very much like, "I don't need your help, my guy." Like, and I love that. I more than anything, I want to see that dynamic go both ways. I want to see a female character that is going to save the male character, and the male character is going to save her like when they need it.
Yeah.
I want them, and I think Percy and Annabeth in the Percy Jackson series do that so well, because they both save each other plenty of times, and I think that's like the sweet spot for me. It's like, yeah, save them, because like that is cute and heroic, but also give the girl her moment to save him.
Yeah, I think the both ways one is the best answer. Because I was gonna say, I I'm a little bit of a sucker for damsel in distress, a little bit, because I'm like, oh, I want like someone to like sweep me off my feet and save me.
Right. And I think that's natural to want, like, to be rescued, to feel like loved and validated in that way. Like, that's totally normal to want. But I think it's normal for a guy to want that too. And I want to see them both go out of their way to save each other.
I think my favorite trope is when like the girl saves the guy first, like right, and then
Hmm.
later when she really needs it, he helps her, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's like my favorite. It's like a
Yes.
reciprocation, you know?
Yeah. And like, they're kind of building their relationship through that too. So,
Exactly. Also, I
yeah.
don't like when characters fall in love too quickly.
Oh no, I'm gonna have the most slow burns ever. Like, it's gonna hurt.
Ouch.
Oh yeah.
But I
They
love it.
I there's no kissing in my first book. There's barely a tiny little bit of kissing in the second book, and then maybe halfway through the third they finally kind of kiss. And it drives my readers crazy. They're like, "Please just let them be together." And I'm like, "No. I'm going to make it as painful as possible."
That's the best way, though. That's literally the
I
best
like a
way.
good I love a slow burn. I like to make the reader work for it.
Have you ever watched like rom-com animes before?
Um, the most rom-com anime, it's not really a rom-com. But I've watched like Fruits Basket. Um, well, that's kind of a
Kind of.
romance. Not really, but kind of.
I was just going to say that like in rom-coms, like in anime rom-coms, it's like 90% tension, and then at
Yeah.
the end of the season it's like a failed confession. So they don't even kiss
Yes.
or touch hand.
Yes. I think that's always fun. The new book coming out, I've had one early reader call it, they're like, this is like a smut book with no smut. And then another another reader called it a kissing book with no kissing, because it's all just tension and chemistry
Which is the best thing.
is the best part.
Is the
So, yeah.
that.
I do hear my kid yelling for mama,
Okay,
and
yes.
I did promise to take her to the park before nap time. I'm so sorry.
No worries. I'll just finish off with a bit of a one final
Yeah.
question.
Yes, please. One final hit me.
What's one advice you give to the aspiring storytellers watching this right now?
Yeah. I think I said it earlier. you have to give yourself permission to write absolute garbage. If you try to make it perfect that first time through, you are going to burn out and not finish your project. I like to think of a first draft as a sandbox. And that first draft, you are putting sand in the sandbox. The second, third, fourth draft, you get to build your sandcastle, but you have to get the sand in the sandbox first. And that often means putting absolute garbage on the page. Um, it's cliche, but you cannot edit a blank page.
Mm-hmm. And where can people find your work?
They can find my work wherever books are sold. The audiobooks are available wherever they like to visit or listen to audiobooks. That includes Libby if you request it through your library. The ebooks are only available through Kindle because Amazon owns all of our souls. It's fine. But you can get them on Kindle Unlimited or you can buy them straight from Amazon. And the paperbacks you can find on my website, you can find on Amazon, you can find on Barnes & Noble, you can order them from your favorite local indie bookstore. They are available wherever. They are most easily searchable if you type in the Apex cycle. Um, and they should pop right up. The titles are Beta, Delta, and Epsilon, and the new book is Skalterra by Nightmare. Yeah.
And you can probably click it in the link in the description because I'll put it in there as well.
Yay.
So that's a wrap for today's episode of Podcast for Fun. Thank you so much, Mary, for joining us and sharing your incredible insights.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun to talk.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow storytelling enthusiasts. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to explore, you can drop them in the comments or connect with me on any of my social medias at Podcast for Fun. Until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and we'll see you on the next episode of Podcast for Fun.